Welcome to Country Fried Rock, where we have conversations with songwriters for real music lovers who enjoy context and musical connection. We are Country Fried Rock. My guest today on Country Fried Rock is Corb Lund with a brand new album out called Counterfeit Blues. Welcome.
Hey.
I've actually seen you play a couple of times, and the first time was with Hayes Carll.
Okay, of course, yeah. He's an old buddy.
And then, since then, y'all put out a couple of funny videos as well.
Yeah, Bible on the Dash, huh? That's a good one.
Yeah, not safe for work. Tell me what's happened that led up to Counterfeit Blues.
Well, Counterfeit Blues is actually old songs. I am writing. I'm going to put a record out next year. But Counterfeit Blues has a strange story. We recorded it at Sun Studio in Memphis.
Yeah.
And what happened was CMT, Country Music Television in Canada, they wanted to have a band go and record some stuff at Sun and make a film out of a documentary film out of it for CMT in Canada. And so we were asked to do that because we're pretty much a live band and it was up our alley. So we went and did it. We had 2 nights at Sun in Memphis from about 6 p.m. till midnight. And they wanted us to play a whole bunch of songs, so instead of playing new songs, the only way we could do it in that short a time was to play old songs. So what we did was we dusted off most of our live favorites that we've been playing for years and years, and we just cut them live off the floor at Sun. And they turned out a lot different than the original versions because the original versions were done in the modern sort of recording style with overdubs and separation and stuff. But at Sun, it's really old school. It's just one room. So you put all the instruments into one room, so you can't really overdub anything and you can't fix things. You basically just have to put the 4 guys in there and plus press record and hope for the best. But it's very live and very organic and raw sounding, which I really like, actually. It's a lot of energy. The guys in my band have been with me for over 10 years, and we've been playing those songs for years and years, so it turned out to be a lot of energetic fun.
Really capture the energy in a really nice way. Yeah.
And it's funny, in America, not everyone knows us down there for all that long. See, we've had 7 records up until this one, in general, but a lot of people in America only know us from, there have been a whole bunch of people get on board just based on our last record, which is called Cabin Fever. So there's a lot of American folks who only know us for that record, so to them, this is like a whole new record.
Right.
In Canada, and to some American people who know some of our stuff, it's kind of like a live greatest hits, but it kind of filled in a blank for me because I was kind of concerned that we've been at it for so long, and we do pretty well in Canada and Australia and Europe, but some parts of America know us, some parts don't. So with a whole bunch more people getting on board with the new record is awesome, but I've always thought, well, gee, I wish that they knew about our old stuff. So this is a way of like sort of exposing them to some of our stronger material from the past.
I was not really knowledgeable about your music until Cabin Fever as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I have seen you live a couple of different times in a couple of different settings. You mentioned the songs change from when they're recorded in.
They drift, yeah.
What was fun for you to be able to do that? It's an intense methodology that the Live at Sun records do.
Yeah, it was pretty comfortable for us. The first hour or so was kind of overwhelming because, they've got Elvis's picture on the wall and Jerry Lewis is on the wall and Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash is on the wall. We were all aware of the stuff that happened at Sun before, but the studio manager there gave us a tour and told us all the old stories, and so for the first hour or two, you've been overwhelmed, right? But once we got the stuff set up and started playing and had a couple of beers in us, it was like, it was really comfortable, actually. And it makes the songs really, I don't know, it reminds me of a rock that's been in the river for 10 or 20 years, It just gets smoother and, everyone knows where they're going, and it's just, I don't know. The songs, they come out in a very natural, organic way. A lot raw. I've decided that I'm done with pristine studios and perfect sounding records. I like rough around the edges stuff that's kind of raw and it's better. Like as a listener too, like I really love hearing records that have mistakes on them and inconsistencies, and it makes it human, right?
We interviewed a couple of producers a few years ago who were like, we're rolling this tape, we're moving forward.
Yeah. And you know what's hard about that? Everyone will say that, but when it's your record, it's really tough because, we all have it ingrained in our brains that we want to do a good job and, make the best record we can and blah, blah, blah. So it's really challenging to actually restrain yourself from fixing stuff when you make a record. Like, it's easy with somebody else. I've got lots of friends whose demos I like better than their actual record. When it's yourself, it's really tough. But the Sun thing forces you to because there's no other way to do it, really.
Right.
You're all in the same room and there's no faking it. Hey, it's Corb Lund from the Canadian Rocky Mountains, and you're listening to Country Fried Rock.
Country Fried Rock is helping prevent musician suicide. Our official charity has been Nucci's Space, a nonprofit organization removing barriers to mental health care for the music community of Athens, Georgia. This model program addresses everything from the need for affordable rehearsal space to loaner gear, as well as direct mental health services and primary care for musicians. We've got a ton of ways you can help them out at countryfriedrock.bandcamp.com.
What happened was CMT made a film out of it, or a documentary, and that when you buy the DVD version of our record, it has some of the songs that were not included on the TV version of the CMT version.
And are they audio or are they video?
No, they're video too. We shot way more stuff than we could use in a 48-minute TV show, right?
What is it that documentary allows you to do in expanding your audience? Because I know there are parts of the U.S. that totally know you, and there are parts of the U.S. that don't. Yeah.
Canada is a smaller market. Like in America, mainstream country radio is big business, right? Never say never, but I don't anticipate us getting American mainstream country radio anytime soon. But Canada is a small enough market, and everyone knows each other, and it's a bit more organic, I think. We actually do get played sometimes on Canadian country radio here. In Canada, it's funny, our audience is about half and half. Half of our Canadian audience are folk fest people and, songwriter fans and that kind of thing. And the other half are straight up country fans, which doesn't happen for us in America so much. But Canada's small enough that we can sneak onto CMT. So they've played our videos up here quite a lot. So we're sort of the black sheep on CMT up here. There's a couple bands that they play besides the mainstream guys, and we're one of them. So we're lucky. And we have some champions there. Like we have a couple of friends that work at CMT that we've known for 15 years.
That's great.
And so when this kind of opportunity comes up, they call us.
Who should we be keeping our ears open for?
There's a girl called Lindy Ortega who's actually living in Nashville now, but she's Canadian. She's awesome.
She's fabulous.
And there's a guy named Ridley Bent who's really good. And there's a band called the Sadies from Toronto they play kind of like surf punk country stuff that's really quite twangy and good. It's similar to the States in that we've got our mainstream people, but then we've also got a cool sort of bubbling underground. That's kind of our wheelhouse. As
you're getting ready to take this music out more broadly, what do you have on tap with touring?
We're doing a bunch of stuff with the Turnpike Troubadours in September. They're buddies of ours. We've done it's kind of cool. We've done it with Hayes and a guy named John Evans. We do like trade-off tours where we bring them up here where we do quite well, and then we go open for them in their areas. So it's a good kind of a trade-off. And we've done a lot of that with the Troubadours. We're playing their festival in Oklahoma at Medicine Stone in September.
Nice. They just wrapped up tour with American Aquarium opening for them, and they all closed out wearing matching Western shirts.
I know. I was in on that. They got me one night. I sang a song with them and got to wear one.
Oh, that's
They're like circa 84.
Yeah, they're fabulous.
Pink and turquoise, Southwestern style. Let's go.
It looks like you would have had to have bought out the entire supplier.
They found some guy. They told me they found him at some small town Western store, and there was a whole rack of them. They've 50% off or something. Hey, this is Corb Lund. Check me out on my website. It's corblund.com, which is Charlie, Oscar, Romeo, Bravo, Lima, Uniform, November, Delta.com, baby.
Find us on iTunes, Spreaker, Podfeed, Player FM, Blueberry, Stitcher, Gigadial, Digital Podcast, and some great apps including Agogo and Swell in both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Wherever you listen, you'll find Country Fried Rock. Never miss an episode.
I'm probably biased because we're friends, but they're really, really good. I like those guys a lot.
Well, so what kind of places work well for you when you're touring here in the States?
It's kind of scattered. Like, the Texas and Oklahoma scene has been really good to us and kind of adopted us, so we play a lot there. And then the Northwest, where we're like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, all the cowboy states like us. Kind of. I read a lot of my lyrical content has a lot of Western cowboy in it. There's the Western Underground kind of spreads us around that way. And then it's random. Like Seattle's really good, Portland's really good, Eugene, and then our shows in DC and New York are good, strangely. And we have really good shows in Minneapolis, and it's kind of random. Like anything that's a cowboy state likes us, basically. And then beyond after that, it's kind of random.
Well, I was going to say, you did play North Carolina because about 4 of my friends brought me home pink koozies from your show.
Yeah, we play in the Carolinas sometimes, for sure. Georgia and Tennessee and stuff. I think we're doing southeastern stuff in September, I think. Some of it with the Troubadours and some of it on our own. And then we're coming back again to Texas in December. Yeah, on and on. When
you tour, your band, by the way, is called the Hurtin Albertans.
The Hurtin Albertans, yeah.
Which is great. It's the same guys?
Yeah, yeah. We've been together a long time. The guitar player, we jokingly say he's the new guy because he's been with us about 11 years. It's pretty cool. That's actually part of what makes that Memphis record, the Counterfeit Blues record, good, is because we know each other inside out, and especially with that material, we've been playing it for so long that we could, it's musical ESP kind of.
Yeah, the whole Live at Sun methodology is different. But what I don't know is, do you then take those and it's as is, or can that be mixed further? How does that work?
Well, you can manipulate it, but we didn't. We just basically mixed it really raw. You could take that stuff and add things to it, I suppose. Like they put a tambourine here and there, but 100% just the four guys in the room at the time. There's hardly any post-recording overdubs.
You said at the beginning that you were in the process of writing some stuff too. What's going on there?
Yeah, well, I always am. You're sort of on the cycle. I've got about half a new record written, and I'm touring pretty heavy till December, so I don't get a lot of stuff written on the road. I do what I can, but January, February, March is slated for finishing off some writing, and then we'll probably have a record in mid-15, hopefully.
Cool.
So, but it's good. I've got a song called The S-Lazy-H, like the name of a ranch. It's a 5-minute bummer about losing the family ranch to because of squabbling siblings, and it's going over really well live. So anytime that I have a new song or two that are going over well live before I've made the record is always encouraging. So got a couple good ones that have been working live, so that's a huge, because you make a record and then you have sort of a drought because you feel spent, and then it's always some fresh green sprouts and sprigs of grass come up, and you get a couple new ones, and as soon as you get a couple new ones that work well live, you feel, because sometimes writing's funny, because sometimes you feel like you're never going to get anything again. I'll go for months at a time and put in the work ethic and write every day, but nothing comes of it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get 5 in 2 weeks. Hey, it's Corb Lund from Canada. Check out my new record, Counterfeit Blues. You can get it on iTunes or on my website, corblund.com.
Pick up your limited edition Country Fried Rock merchandise at Ignition Music Garage in Goshen, Indiana. The other thing you just mentioned that was interesting to me is that you work up all your songs live well before they're recorded.
I try to. Like every record, there'll be 2 or 3 that we've been playing for almost a year, 2 or 3 that have come together just in the last week or 2 in the studio. So there's kind of a variety. Ideally, I like to play them live before I record them, because that's how you really get inside them and get to know them well. But the logistics of the music business don't always allow that. I mean, you could do that, but it would take me 5 years to put out a record instead of 2.5, right? So there's something about being in the studio that's a kind of a creative. Like I usually go in when I've got 6 or 8 songs, and you end up with 10 or 12. There's something about when the juices start flowing in the studio that's a creative impetus, I guess.
Do you have particular studios where you feel comfortable and you like to work with, or do you always look for variety?
A lot of different ones over the years, but the last record we did in Edmonton, where I'm in Alberta, Canada, which is a much less shiny and pristine studio that we've used in the past. It's kind of a funky sort of, my friend owns it. We decided to take a different approach, and instead of using a really nice high-end studio, we were going to go for total comfort, ease, and familiarity. So we actually used our friend's studio. It's called Riverdale Recorders. It's in Edmonton, Alberta, but that's my favorite, because we've actually lived in the place. It's the closest thing to our own home studio that we have. And instead of starting at 9, we'd start at noon or 1, and we drank beer and we actually tried to make it sort of like a fun party and have a record come out of it as a byproduct instead of being all serious about it. And it worked really well. So I'm really into like down and dirty, funky studios that aren't officially nice. I've grown to have a taste for that. These days, too, you can record in a barn, right? I mean, there's so much mobile gear that you can just pack it all up into a couple of crates and unload it into an old house or a barn or wherever you want, basically. It's really free. There's a lot of freedom in recording these days. You've
got a lot of different friends in music and people you like to play with, particularly with Hayes and Turnpike Troubadours and a couple of other folks. Who else would you like to bring along with you, or have you brought along with you that you just haven't been able to hook up again?
Well, we mentioned Lindy earlier. I'd like to play with her. We've done a little bit of touring with a guy named John Evans from Houston. We'd like to do more with him. He's a good friend. There's a guy named Doug Moreland that's a friend of mine from Austin. He's really good. He plays old school kind of Western swing. We've been planning to bring him to Canada for years and we haven't aligned our schedules. But I'd like to play with Marty Robbins, but he's dead, so he's my favorite all time.
Really?
My family are all cowboys, so that was the Bible, basically. That Pink record, Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs, with Big Iron and El Paso and stuff, that was like pretty much ground zero around my house. Yeah, and then, all the rest of the 70s stuff, Waylon and Waylon and Statler Brothers. If you've only heard Cabin Fever, Counterfeit Blues is a really good introduction to our older material. It was our bedrock for years. Big part of our live show, too. Do
you like to bring in any other people's songs when you're playing live?
It's tough, because play an hour-and-a-half show, and we have 7 records or 8 records now, and it's, I mix it up as much as we can. We don't use a set list anymore. I just sort of wing it every night. I have a complicated set of baseball hand signals to tell the guys what song we're playing next. We slip in the odd Hayes song or even the odd Willie Nelson song, whatever, but I really don't play many covers because it's hard enough just to fit in all my own songs I want to play, but occasionally. Every once in a while we'll play a strange show where either no one's listening or it's a weird private show where no one cares. We'll just play a whole set of Merle Haggard or something.
That would be great.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, actually. We do a pretty mean cover of the Rolling Stone, actually.
Tell me a little bit more about the other things that y'all did in this Memphis Sun recording session.
Well, I should mention that you can get just the CD, Counterfeit Blues, or you can get a combination package with the DVD of the actual Memphis Sun documentary that we did, as well as the audio CD, so that's kind of cool. And it's funny because when CMT got us to do this TV show, we've done a number of them, and with varying results, but this one turned out, it's by far the best TV/documentary thing that we've ever done. It's really good, not just because of us, but the way that they shot it and the way it's edited, it's quite cool. The concept is pretty neat, and the playing and the music turned out well, but also the story of it is pretty neat.
Anything special about how the vinyl came to be?
Well, I think we had it specially mastered, but just about everything that our record label New West puts out, they put on vinyl as well. Some people in Toronto master it. There's a guy named George Graves who's kind of a Canadian vinyl legend that mastered the thing for vinyl. So yeah, no, it's well taken care of. Listeners are getting a little more savvy to the technical details that go into that now as well. Yeah, I've actually learned a lot about it myself. Like, I thought it was kind of a standard. I've learned that it's more of an art than a science, mastering for vinyl. Like, different guys have different approaches, and they have different equalizations they use and stuff. But it's basically another level of, one more layer of sort of artistic impression. Because I thought for a while that there was a standardized way of mastering for vinyl versus CD, but the more I look into it, the more different guys have different approaches and stuff. So it's kind of an art form, really. Well, vinyl is weird because it's got limitations that you have to work around, right? Which is actually good because that's what makes vinyl sound like vinyl. But yeah, apparently different guys have different tricks up their sleeve to make it sound good. Are there any differences in track order or track? That's an interesting question because when I first started, I'm old, so we used to have cassettes even, right? Mm-hmm. But it makes a big difference. Like a CD of 12 songs, the flow that you would give to a 12-song set of songs is much different than the flow you might give to two 6-song sets, right? Very much. So it's a really tricky thing. I don't think we ever changed the order, but it was a really tricky thing to make a sequence of songs that would work as a 12-song set versus two 6-song sets, because you got to start the second side of the CD, second side of the cassette or the record in a certain way, which is probably quite different than the middle of the 12-song set, right? So it's quite a challenge to make them both work. That's a powerful thing, too. Yeah, sequencing is a very important thing. Well, Corb Lund, thank you so much for your time and sharing with us about both the Memphis Sun series and how that recording went, what has ultimately led to Counterfeit Blues. Thank you. Be well, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Country Fried Rock, music uncovered. This week's instrumental is Gilbert Takes the Wheel from Guadalcanal Diary and their album, Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man. You can subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes. Just search Country Fried Rock. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts. Country Fried Rock is a partnership with the nonprofit Florence Regional Arts Alliance. Your donations to this program are tax-deductible to the extent you are eligible under U.S. law. Country Fried Rock radio programs are distributed to public radio through the Public Radio Exchange, prx.org. Copyright 2014 by Lilypad Productions. All rights reserved. Ever he been helping us some Country Fried Rock.